You know, Japanese milk bread is really the ultimate sandwich bread. It's light with a pull-apart texture and great flavor. And today on Mill Street, we visit with cookbook author Sonoko Sakai, and she helps us make this recipe at home. Plus, Sonoko demonstrates a Japanese-style chicken and vegetable curry and a side dish of Daikon-Carrot Salad. So please stay tuned as we explore Japanese favorites.
Funding for this series was provided by the following.
That meal. You sautéed, you seared, and you served. Cooking with All-Clad. Bonded cookware designed, engineered, and assembled in the USA for over 50 years. All-Clad. For all your kitchen adventures.
So we're gonna make Japanese curry today.
Why do the Japanese make curry? Let's start with that.
The food curry actually came to Japan through the English traders at the turn of the century when Japan decided to open its ports.
Right, the Meiji Restoration.
The Meiji Restoration, and said, okay, we're gonna welcome modernization, we're gonna welcome Western culture, and curry was one of the dishes that was introduced through the English. When I was growing up in Japan, my school served curry every week. And at home, curry is very popular. They say that Japanese people eat curry on the average of 1.5 times a week.
Really?
Yeah. So curry became very popular in the 60s, but we never saw the spices. So I never associated these spices with curry. And when I started breaking it down and analyzing it, I realized that it was a lot of the spices that was in my grandma's medicine cabinet.
It's different than a curry powder I might be familiar with, or is it very similar to that?
I try to come up with the best curry powder from scratch. There's actually 17 ingredients in my curry powder. And what makes it me is the umami flavors, shiitake and kombu.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and they can be mixed into the powder and pulverized to make a curry powder. And I don't put any oil in this. I'm just doing a quick toast. Yeah, and when you hear that pop, it's ready. I want to cool it. Yeah. So I've learned from an Indian cook that you could shake it.
Right. You talk about the curry spices, but then you make a roux with butter or oil, flour, and you add the spices. So you essentially make a flavored roux for the basis of your curries. And this is something that can sit in the refrigerator for a long time, or the freezer indefinitely, I guess. And so you have all that flavor locked up in that roux, that paste. That's just the basis of the curry, which is such a great idea, right? I mean,
oh, it's a genius of an idea, and you just drop it in, and it makes a perfect amount of curry for 4 people, and you just put it in water.
It's
once
clearly
a week.
it's on the high rotation.
Oh yeah, because it was liberating for a lot of housewives. They could do something else.
So this is like a 30-minute
Yeah,
thing.
so you cook the rice in a rice cooker. That also happened. The rice cooker came out in the 50s, and the curry came out. I'm gonna start serving it. Yum. Is it good?
This is a great example of how to get deep, rich flavor quickly. Umami, kombu, the mushroom. It was just a wonderful way of getting depth, you know?
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, we just made the roux together too. So that's why I feel like making things from scratch, individually grown by all these farmers.
This was a dish I did not know, and thank you for being my tour guide.
Oh, thank you so much.
This is really good.
So today we are going to make Sonoko Sakai's amazing Japanese chicken and vegetable curry. To get it started, we need to get some onions cooking. And then I'm gonna put my onions straight in. We're gonna cook these for about 9 minutes so they get a little bit of color and add a great base to our curry. So while our onions are cooking, it's time to make some curry powder. I've toasted these up already. We have some black mustard seeds, some coriander, a little bit of shiitake mushrooms, some fennel, some cumin, all really great whole spices that'll add a ton of flavor to your dish. However, you wanna make sure that these are fully cooled before you load them into your spice grinder over here. And I'm gonna give these a buzz. I'm gonna pour this into my bowl. So I'm gonna add some powdered spices to this. And the reason I haven't added them in with the grinder is that I don't want these any more finely ground than they are. I want a matching consistency. So I have some ginger, some turmeric, a little bit of paprika, some black pepper, clove, and cinnamon. And all of these are going to create an amazing flavor base. Stir it up so it's well combined. So now we have our beautiful curry powder, which you made while the onions were cooking, saving some time, right? My onions have been cooking for about close to 10 minutes now. They have a little bit of color to them. I'm going to make a little well and put my chicken right in the middle. Now, I'm not cooking my chicken all the way through right now, but I do want it to make sure that it loses just a little bit of that exterior color so that it can cook fully in the curry. I'd already seasoned it with a little bit of salt and pepper. I have some garlic and ginger paste here, and I'm just gonna stir that around, and then I'm gonna add the rest of my butter. And the reason that I'm adding my butter is because I want us to create a roux, so we have a nice, thick, beautiful curry. We're gonna let it melt with the chicken and the onions, garlic and ginger. It's gonna smell amazing. Don't be afraid of a little color, because color is flavor. So I'm gonna add my flour now to thicken it up, stir it around. Now, this might stick to the bottom of the pan. That's okay. It will come up in the cooking process. You might get a little color on your flour. Don't worry about it. Again, color is flavor. So I'm gonna take a tablespoon of my curry powder, and I realize I made more than a tablespoon of curry powder, but you can use this on a lot of different things, and you can just keep it in a little airtight jar. It'll keep for about a month or two, and you can use it on vegetables, meats, whatever you like. So now that I have my curry powder in the mix, I wanna make sure that this cooks for a minute or two, just so those spices can bloom and open up a little bit, give off a little bit more flavor. It smells really great. I'm gonna take my first cup of water. I'm gonna use my wooden spoon to kind of get some of the bits up from the bottom. And you'll see pretty much instantly that this water is starting to thicken up from the roux that you've made. First addition of water is nicely incorporated. I'm gonna add the rest of it and then add my vegetables. We've got some red bell pepper, some potato, some carrot, and slide it right into my pot. I'm gonna let it go for about 20 to 25 minutes uncovered until I can stick a skewer through the potato or carrot and it meets no resistance. That means it's tender and it's ready to go. So we've been cooking this for about 25 minutes, but we still need to add just a little bit more oomph to this dish. So I'm gonna add another half teaspoon of black pepper, a bit of soy sauce, and a bit of mirin, which is a sweet rice wine. Give it a good stir. Color gets a bit darker. You can see that your gravy is just a good bit thicker from the cooking process in the roux, so it's time to eat. I've got some steamed rice over here. And then I have my beautiful Japanese chicken and vegetable curry. Typically with Japanese dishes, you serve it with a bit of pickle just for brightness, acid, crunch. And we have a bit of fukujinzuke, which is absolutely lovely, easy to find in your local Japanese market. I'm gonna add just a little squeeze of lemon to give it a bit of brightness. That over here. Time to eat. This is really good. We have Sonoko Sakai's Japanese chicken and vegetable curry, and I'm going to go finish this bowl.
So years ago, when I visited Elizabeth Ando in Tokyo, we made marinated vegetables. That's very important in the cuisine. And recently, more recently, I was out in LA visiting Sonoko Sakai. We made this recipe, which is very simple to do. It's a daikon radish carrot salad with sesame and lemon. And we'll start by doing matchsticks. So that's a daikon. So now we're going to salt them and massage it. So we're gonna use a teaspoon of table salt. Really wanna cover everything with the salt and really get the salt into it. Table salt's finer than kosher salt. It's gonna really get some of the water out of these vegetables. Just in a couple of minutes, the vegetables really do start to get a little softer. So we'll let that sit. Now we'll make the dressing. It's really simple, 4 things: salt, sugar, unseasoned rice vinegar. You don't want other flavors in there, and water. That's it. So we'll just whisk that together. This is really almost a pickling recipe, right? Because we're gonna let the vegetables sit in here for quite some time. So that's it. We'll let these sit for a few minutes. So now we're going to press or squeeze the excess liquid out of the daikon and the carrot. And you really do have to squeeze this to get it out. You can see there's quite a lot of liquid in the bowl. And now we'll simply add the pickling liquid to it. Now that can sit for 4 hours up to a whole week. So we'll put that away, and we come back after 4 hours, we'll finish up the salad. So the sesame seeds we're using have been toasted lightly in a pan, and this recipe calls them to be ground. And you know, mortar and pestle is something I hadn't used a lot until recently, and now I use it all the time. Really does a great job of getting just the right texture, and it brings out flavors as well. So once you just use gravity to do a lot of the work, you can see the sesame seeds are starting to break down. Now we'll just add the other ingredients. So starting with the pickled vegetables, of course. We have the sesame seeds. So red pepper flakes are next. If you can get Aleppo pepper, strongly recommend that if you can find it, but red pepper flakes are fine. Lemon zest, dried apricots. So that's the daikon radish salad with sesame seeds and lemon zest. And it's a great small counterpoint to almost any dish. Just adds that extra bite and that freshness that you can't get anywhere else. Milk bread. So this is another thing that is interesting, because when you think of Japan, you don't think about bread first, right?
Right.
And then milk bread, dairy, you know,
Right.
which is also odd. Yet it's extraordinarily popular and is absolutely phenomenally good and much better than our white bread.
It was actually the Americans that really introduced us to the bread culture, because they had, after the war, there was a surplus of wheat in America. Shipped it to Japan to feed the hungry kids. All of us at school children, we ate a lot of bread. And my generation is, I think, the first generation that acquire a love for the taste of bread. Actually, the secret ingredient, which makes this bread so moist, is the roux. Mm-hmm. It adds to the hydration. It keeps it very moist and a little bit like mochi. You know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's one of my favorite things in the world. Yes.
So when we look for good bread, we say, ooh, this bread has a mochi flavor. We say mochi and go, ooh, mochi. So it's so funny because we're a rice culture. We're looking for that texture in this wheat bread, right?
Mochi is that glutinous rice flour
sticky
dough that's chewy
and sticky and
just
sweet,
wonderful.
slightly sweet, and
that helps the bread to hold on to moisture, or is that what it does?
yeah, some of the best breads, actually, I find in Japan. We moved into Los Angeles for the final time with my family in the 70s, when I think Julia Child said, how could a nation be powerful if you produce bread that tastes like Kleenex?
Sounds like Julia, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like Julia Child. And I said, that's what we thought. It tastes like cardboard. And my mother, she would take empty suitcases to Japan and come back with like 7 of them. And one of them always had nothing but Japanese milk bread. And we would just go wild, you know? Nice and toasty. Yeah, it's cooked.
Has that nice hollow
Yeah, so
sound to it.
I think we should just break it and see how it looks.
That's just lovely.
It's very nice, isn't it? Yeah. I really enjoyed baking with you. So good.
Mochi mochi. You know, I first discovered milk bread in Tokyo at a 7-Eleven with a lot of them. Well, don't laugh. The 7-Elevens in Tokyo are just amazing. I mean, they have great stuff. Alcohol, you can get hot food, you get sandwiches. But a lot of these sandwiches, like their famous egg salad sandwich, comes on milk bread. And I'm going like, you know, if Wonder Bread was really good,
Right.
this would be milk bread. Because it has this wonderful texture. It's kind of pull apart, cottony, great flavor. It's just quite different.
Well, the primary way that it's different is it contains what's called a roux, like a water-based roux. It's also known as the Tangzong method. We're going to combine some liquids in the recipe with some flour. We're going to heat it. It gelatinizes the starches in the flour, and it enables them to trap all of the water. It creates this bread that is moist, but also still really easy to work with and handle. So we have a 1/2 cup of water, and this is 6 tablespoons whole milk. And then this is just a 1/4 cup of bread flour. The reason you want to mix it before we start heating it is it will immediately start to clump up. So we want to make sure it's all smooth before we turn on the heat. All right, Chris, and if you wouldn't mind going ahead and setting that heat to medium. And you want to make sure that you whisk constantly, because again, as it heats up, it will start to thicken and clump. And as you can see, it's really a simple step, but it adds so much to this bread. And I love that you compare it to Wonder Bread.
You could take a whole loaf and turn it into a little tiny ball, too.
That's what I used to do.
Yeah, of course.
That's my little secret. All right, you can see it's starting to thicken. It's leaving a trail. So now I'm just going to transfer this to a bowl because we want it to cool down to room temperature. And you do want to cover it with some plastic wrap so it doesn't form a skin. You want to put that directly on the surface. So we're going to allow this to cool down to room temperature, and then we're going to continue on with our recipe. Our water-based roux here is totally cooled to room temperature. And if you wouldn't mind, you go and add the eggs to that and whisk those in. And then when you're done with that, you're going to add the milk. And I'm going to go ahead and incorporate the dry ingredients. We have bread flour here. I'm going to actually add some rye flour to that. Just added a little bit of extra flavor, a little bit of extra heft to the bread, and we really liked it.
Yeah, Sonoko did that when I made it with her. She also added a little bit of...
I'm adding sugar. This is non-fat milk powder.
All the milk?
Yep. And I'm adding instant yeast. And then lastly, salt. I'm just gonna whisk this together before we put it on the mixer to make sure everything's incorporated.
This is very exciting. We're both doing the same thing together, isn't it?
This is teamwork. Thank you very much. Now I'm gonna put this on low speed. And then I'm just gonna slowly add this right in. Now, as soon as that forms a ball and has all come together, we're gonna go ahead and add 8 tablespoons of softened salted butter, 1 piece at a time. But you can see already how sticky it is, though, right? Okay, Chris, now that all the butter's added, I'm gonna increase the speed to medium-low, and we're just gonna leave it to mix for like 10 to 12 minutes to really develop the gluten. It's still gonna be sticking slightly to the sides of the bowl, but the dough will start to firm up. We are ready to transfer it to our bowl. I've buttered this bowl, really elastic.
This almost looks like focaccia dough or something. It's got so
Right.
much liquid in it.
You know, but if you touch it, it's really actually not that sticky. All right, now I'm just gonna brush the top with some melted butter. And then we're gonna just wrap this with plastic wrap and leave it in a nice warm spot until it's doubled in size, which should take about an hour and a half. Okay, Chris, here we are.
Think that's risen enough?
I think it's ready to go. I'm just gonna take off the plastic. And I'm gonna lightly dust the counter here with some flour. Oh, look at that, popped right out. That's great.
Can I just get my hands on this?
Isn't it nice? It's nice now, see?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna put a little flour on top. Now I'm going to divide this into 4 equal pieces. Take each piece and form it into a ball. Just sort of roll it over itself, shape it into a nice even shape. I like to flip it over because there's like a smooth side, and then this side, you know, is sort of I consider the rough side, and I'm gonna have that on top. So just flip it over so the smooth, yep, perfect. And then we're gonna press it out into a rectangle that's about 7 inches long by 4 inches wide. And then we're just gonna give it like a business letter 3-fold. So fold the bottom part up halfway, exactly, and then the top part down, and then we're just gonna pinch it to seal. And then this guy is gonna go into the loaf pan on one side, and you just wanna make sure that that seal goes perpendicular to the pan.
Okay.
It is actually very easy to work with,
It's
right?
very easy to work
Yeah,
with,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not as sticky as the dough was before.
That's the only reason you're letting me work with it,
Right.
evidently.
And it's okay if the dough balls aren't touching because you want to actually leave a little space between them so they have room to rise and expand. And I really love this technique. It's kind of interesting. Not only do you get these 2 great pull-apart, almost large buns when you get the loaf out, but also the way that we've shaped each ball and put them in perpendicularly, it aligns all the gluten strands, and it actually helps to give you that really fine, feathery crumb.
Okay. I love aligning
Did I-
those gluten strands. That really.
I know, I just geeked out a little bit, but there's a reason. So we're just gonna go ahead and cover these with a kitchen towel. We want them to rise about 1 inch above the pan, and it's gonna take about an hour. Look at that. Ooh, they look great. All we have to do now is we're gonna gently brush the tops. This is just an egg that's been beaten. And that's it. And then these are gonna go right into a 350-degree oven on the middle rack. And they're gonna bake until they're nice and deeply golden brown on top. And it's gonna take about 30 to 35 minutes. Okay, Chris, I think we're about ready to slice into these. I took them out of the oven, I let them cool for 15 minutes in the pans, and then I very gently took them out of the pans and re-inverted them. So they've been cooling about an hour. And I'm ready to slice into them.
I've been cooling about an hour
You've been
too,
cooling.
waiting for these to come out.
I know,
so,
right? Okay. Let's not waste another second. Now, this is my favorite part. I love to just pull them apart. Look at that.
This goes back to your Wonder Bread years, right?
Seriously.
You like playing with it. Pull apart texture.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it.
I always think about it as feathery, like a feathery texture.
Yeah. it is.
So, just gonna slice. I like nice big slices because it's because it's
You
so
get
light.
about 4 slices per loaf, but you know, that's okay.
It looks beautiful. The crumb looks amazing.
So when I say pull apart, when you just pull it, you know, it has that wonderful feathery texture.
It does. It's light, like cake almost.
I'm gonna taste it just as is first, of course.
Okay.
There's nothing like this bread. I mean, everyone loves sourdough bread, which is nice.
Right.
This has texture, it has great flavor, and for a sandwich or just like this, there's just nothing like it. So you can get this recipe and all the recipes, by the way, of this season of Milk Street Television at milkstreettv.com.
Funding for this series was provided by the following.
That meal. You sautéed, you seared, and you served. Cooking with All-Clad. Bonded cookware designed, engineered, and assembled in the USA for over 50 years. All-Clad. For all your kitchen adventures.
Hey everybody, Christopher Kimball here at Milk Street, and thanks for watching us on YouTube. By the way, please subscribe to our channel and also click the bell for updates as we roll out new shows. By the way, all the recipes from our current TV season are available for free at our website, which is 177milkstreet.com. That's 177milkstreet.com. Thanks, and enjoy our shows.